going to bring forward our special guest, Julia Gentry. I met Julia last year and really fell in love with her message.
Just so you guys know, for those of you who don't know me, I am a speaker and an author. I am a wife and a new mom of 5. I have 5 children, which I was actually feeling really good until like the lady who runs the ship was like, I have 5. And I had one question for her. Do I survive? Like, will I make it through this? And she looked at me. She didn't really say yes or no. I'm just teasing. No, it's funny though, and I shared this with the ALC team. When I was pregnant with my 5th, I go to restaurants or I'd be out and about and people would be like, oh, is this your first? And I was like, no, it's my 5th. And they were like, oh, dear God. Almost like, first of all, do you know how this happens? And second of all, is it contagious? It's like, no, people still do this. We still do this. So today, if what I share with you all of a sudden feels like this is hard and this is bull crap, like this is just too hard, remember who this is coming from. If I am a mom of 5, anyone can do what I'm going to share with you today. So write that down, okay? She can do it, so can I. But my background is actually in real estate. I had a passion to be in real estate, which is why we all start, right? Wrong. That's not true. That's actually not my truth. I had a passion for the man who had a passion for real estate, my husband, Travis Gentry. And I met him when I was 17 years old. We had this dream of, all the things. More money, more time, more significance, all the beautiful things in life. And so he decided in 2007 that not only was he going to ask me to marry him, but he was going to quit his really great job and get into real estate. In 2007. I'm a single, ladies. Right? Like, this is not the time that you get married and start a business, right? So I actually got into real estate because I married a man who was interested in getting into real estate. But for both of us, we decided to get into real estate for the same reasons, truly, that most of us do. How many of you can relate? Number 1, you want to be your own boss. Yes? Yes, true. Number 2, I want to make a lot of money. All the money. As much as I want. True. And number 3, I want to do whatever I want with my time. You know what I mean? Like, work as little as possible and make as much as I actually can make. Raise your hand. I know that's you. Tell me your name again. It's why you started in this business, isn't it? Of course. And then here's what we all learn very quickly. We're a horrible boss. Like the one that has no strategic plans or process maps and not disciplined and should have done it yesterday and didn't do it, and we just aren't as good of a boss as we thought we were. Hashtag get a new boss. You know what I'm saying? Second, making money. How many of you make good money and then not enough? And then a lot and then not enough. And then it's great until it's not great. You're like, this is not consistent. Do you remember that consistent paycheck? People are like, what's that? I know, people have those. I miss it, right? And then the third is time. You're like, who needs it? It's fine. I don't need time, right? That's really what happens. And the reason this happens is twofold. Number 1, most of us don't actually know the goal of a business. We don't know it or we forget it. And the goal of the business is twofold: success and significance. And if I could actually give you a formula that would really serve you in understanding this, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this today. My second point is going to be the depth of this conversation. But if there was a formula as a business owner that we're supposed to have, which is why in theory I got in and stayed, right? We stayed the course, is because this is your formula, right? These 2 things, time and money, are your success metrics, which means your business should be giving you time and money. And then what it also should be giving you is significance. This is also called fulfillment. This is called purpose. Most of us would say, I'm getting some of those, but not all of them. Or it fluctuates. Sometimes I have a lot of money and no time, and sometimes I have a lot of time and no money, and every once in a while I see snippets of significance, but then I forget why I'm in the business, and I just keep doing what I need to do to pay the bills. True. Right? So this is ultimately the goal of a business, is that it should be giving us these things. Now, my story, just to kind of give you a little bit of feedback and understanding, so as I start preaching at you, you're like, who is she and why is she telling me what to do? Or maybe that's just me sitting in the audience, but I generally would want to know that. For me, I was like, all right, great. This is ultimately why I was like, I'm going to get into real estate because of the money piece. Love it. How many of you love making money? How many of you love spending money? How many of you don't understand the question? Just making sure there's always someone, right? So for me, this is what, we got into the business, 2008, and we hit the market spot on because we decided to pick a niche, which is what every successful person in real estate says. We were too stupid to know a difference. I was 21 years old, had one goal to make money, and so we picked short sales. Literally had no idea what we were picking, you guys. We honestly were like, short sales. I don't know, that sounds easy. That sounds easy, short sales. While everybody was getting out of the market, we were getting in. Everybody told us that we were crazy. We were just too naive to know any different. So long story short, we hit the market spot on. We were very successful. We were doing 60 to 70 short sales every given month. We were bought and sold millions of dollars worth of real estate during that time, only to end up $100,000 in debt living in my mom's basement. Not sexy. That's what my husband would say. This was not sexy, right? So at that point, we started to learn, oh man, maybe there's more to this game of business than just making money, more than just technique, more than just a skill set, right? Because we had done all the right things on paper, process maps, strategic planning, picking your niche, doing the things, making sure you make your calls, making sure you send out enough emails. Like we were doing all of the things, and yet we were still now in debt and not fulfilled. So we identified at that point in time that there was this thing called the gap. This is ultimately what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the thing of the gap because how many of you can relate with, here's what I have, here's what I want. And yet there always seems to be this gap. Mentally, emotionally, financially, physically, right? I weigh 30 pounds more and I want to be 30 pounds less, but why is that gap so hard? Or here's where I am, and here's where I want to be. I want to make $1 million a year, but I just can't quite get there. And these aren't impossible goals, right? If you even look to some of the people around you, they've achieved these goals, right? There's people who are losing 30 pounds. There's people who are making $1 million. Like these aren't unrealistic. However, they seem to be very unrealistic for you. Anyone ever been there? Right? So for me, I was fascinated by this gap because I had had them in my own life and I had seen hundreds of people in the real estate industry have the same gap, even with all the skill set training of the world. This is when I learned that success in real estate is not about skill set. It's about mindset. Changed the game for me, right? And here was the important thing for me to understand is that as I found myself crawling into bed every single night, I was asking one question, which is there something more? Because I'm doing these things. I crawl myself out of debt. We bought the house and the cars. We had the 2.5 kids. Like we did all of the things that you're supposed to do. We made our way out of my mom's basement. My husband's like, let's do that. Let's not do that ever again. Right? There's a reason we leave our parents' house. You know what I'm saying? No offense to the parents, but right. So at some level, we were like, is there something more? So we did what most people don't do in this midlife crisis. We called it a midlife awakening because we were too young to be having a crisis. And instead of buying a new truck or getting a tattoo, we decided let's sell everything. So we actually were living in Phoenix at the time, and we had a living estate sale, and we sold everything within a matter of 2 hours. Literally, people were coming in the house, and we're like, yeah, sold. And we jumped in the RV, traveled the country, looking for significance, looking for fulfillment. Here's key number one. Success and fulfillment doesn't live out there. It doesn't happen out there. And actually, we started to land on it when I was asked the question that I'm going to ask you today, which is my second reason as to why we're experiencing some burnout as agents. And that question is, what is your burn? So if you're taking notes, that's the question I would write down. What is my burn? Another way to ask that, because I can tell people like, what does that mean? I don't understand the question. Another question that would be is, what gets you out of bed in the morning? Even better question would be, what keeps you going all day long? Or the question today is, what is your conviction? What is your conviction? Now, the goal of today is to teach you about the concept of conviction. I asked David for 4 hours. He gave me 1. So if today sucks, it's his fault. If you leave today feeling like, what? You're going to leave me with that? It's his fault. If you leave totally fulfilled and like on point and you know what it is, that's my doing. Me. Okay? Okay, so that's what we're going to leave today. So the goal today is I want to unpack this really big idea for you with also giving you some prompts that's going to require you to maybe get to the quiet place with yourself and ask big questions. I have a tendency of doing that, to the point that moms at the playground run from me. They're like, Julia, Gentry's coming. Do not make eye contact. This woman does not want to talk about the weather or the Super Bowl. I actually didn't know who was playing on Sunday. My friend was like, who are you going for? I was like, voting for? She's like, wrong word. It's actually, you're not voting for people. I was like, what are we doing? She's like, it's Super Bowl. I was like, oh, Broncos? She's like, what world do you live in? Like, I don't care about football. I don't care about the weather. I actually care how you are doing. So at the very end, I'm actually going to give you some questions that are designed to reveal you to you, that are designed to reveal your burn, your fire, your conviction. You go, well, that sounds uncomfortable. It is. But as one of my favorite quotes from The Greatest Showman says, comfort is the enemy of progress. So today's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, and that's okay. And these questions that we're ultimately going to land on are also going to be uncomfortable, and that too is okay. So that's where we're going to start. Now, if I could actually give you something today, back to my earlier point around what is conviction and why do we need it, here's what I want you to understand about conviction. Conviction could be phrased as, it's your give a damn. It's the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning. It's your can't not. It's your fire. It's your burn. It's your why. It's your reason. And I believe that the future of real estate will be built on the shoulders of the people with the greatest conviction, period. And my question is that you? I also would even say that I believe that the future of our world, both good and bad, will be built on the shoulders of the people with the greatest conviction. Not statistics, not analytics, not the past, not an idea, not a theory, not a process map or a strategic plan. It will be built on the shoulder of the people who have the biggest give a damn. Again, my hope today is that I can leave you and impart you with this idea that it can be you. Right? Because oftentimes, trial, tribulation, or a change in the market, anyone been there? I know, I'm just trying to be silly. Right? All of a sudden we see changes in the market. That actually doesn't reveal anything other than what's inside a man that's been there all along. Right? So in this time, I believe this conversation is needed more than ever before. Because as the market is changing, and as interest rates are going to do whatever they're going to do, and as buyers and sellers are going to do whatever they're going to do, though we could look back, who's been in real estate longer than 10 years? We could look back and go, does history repeat itself? Yeah. Right? We know up here that we have buyer's market, we have seller's market, and we have some things in between. And guess what? We're motivated by two things as people, greed and fear. So in theory, we also know the idea that when everybody else is getting in, we should probably be stepping back a little bit, and vice versa. And we should also be looking at our business accordingly, knowing that we should follow the trends and in theory be ahead of the trends. True or true? Here's my number one key in real estate to be successful. Get ahead of the trend. But Julia, that's uncomfortable. But you can't really see anything happening at that point in time. This is what conviction actually means. Conviction is belief in something that I don't actually see yet. This is what it means to live convicted. But it's actually a belief, like I can't not do this because I believe that it's possible before I see it with my eyes. Which means I have to be very comfortable in seeing in a totally different reality. Not when the news tells me about it, prior to that. And that's a really hard place to see because as people, we're addicted to what we see. Social media, Instagram, right, the news, Super Bowl commercials. Like my son the other day, he listens at night, when he falls to bed, he listens to this pastor who we love. But he wakes up the next morning and he goes, is red meat bad for you? And I said, what? Because we eat a lot of red meat. He goes, is red meat bad for you? He's 9. I go, well, why? Can you give me some context as to why you're asking that question? I'm not joking you. He gives me these 4 bullet point statistics around why red meat is bad. And I looked at him and I go, where did you hear that? He goes, on YouTube. And I go, do you know that not everything on YouTube is true? He goes, what? Just like that. What? He almost then what is true? Santa? Easter Bunny? You're telling me they aren't real either? I'm like, oh gosh, this is a way bigger conversation than 7 o'clock in the morning. But the idea is we're actually really connected to what we can see around us. And I'd like to propose that we have forgotten what's going on within us. And someone who actually lives from this place of conviction or burn doesn't need the world around them to tell them what they already know to be true within them. And I think this is going to be necessary as we move forward in the real estate world. So, who wants to unpack what it means to live convicted? Ahead of the curve, on the edge. One? This is for you, girlfriend. I came from Oregon for you. Okay, great. Okay, so here's what I want to ask you. This is actually what I asked ALC. I asked you at the very beginning of this meeting, I said, does everyone have a goal? One, if you have one goal for the year, will you raise your hand? Like one goal. Raise your hand high, and do not be ashamed if you don't. Good, you guys are actually above the statistics. Some of you are like, don't call on me. This is I'm raising my hand to save face, but don't really call on me. Who has a goal? Like you have one goal and it matters to you. Raise your hand again. Okay, great. So actually, statistically speaking, you've got more in this room than normal. 56% of people won't set a New Year's resolution. That's staggering. 56% of people will not even set a New Year's goal. Does that make you wonder why? Let me ask you this. Let's ask it in reverse. Who does not have a goal for the year? Please raise your hand proud. Come on. Did the other people not understand the question? Who's like, maybe you have an idea of a goal, but you're not totally sure you want that goal? Or who just set a goal because it's bigger than last year's? Thank you. Okay, great. So let's just, what's your name? Christy. Okay, so let me ask you this. Why are you not like loud and proud about your goal?
Lots of obstacles, I guess.
Lots of obstacles. Anyone ever been there? Thank you for being honest. I have a lot of obstacles. I got 99 problems, and totally. How many of you have also had a goal and then not hit it? How does that feel? Awesome. Let's do that again. You know what I'm saying? How many of you have set a New Year's goal just to be bigger than last year's goal, but then you might even hit it, but you still don't feel fulfilled? Anyone ever been there? That you're like, maybe you lost 1 more pound, you dated someone sexier, like you put 1 more number on the books, like you did all the things, and you're like, this is it? Why would I set another New Year's goal? I think this leans into why 56% of people wouldn't set one. Why would I do that to myself? It's like torture, right? Or there's some of us who set a goal and then obstacles happen and we're like, maybe that was too big. Maybe I should set a realistic goal. Who's my realistic goalers? Raise your hand. Who's my realistic goalers? I love that. Yeah, I'm gonna set a realistic goal. Right? Again, sometimes we're even setting goals based upon how we did it in the past. How we did it in the past. Let me tell you one thing when it comes to actually living convicted. There's 2 different pieces to this equation that we have to be mindful of, and I don't have enough time to go into this. I do in my book, right? I actually share the whole mechanics around this. But we have 2 forces at odds here when we actually start to set a goal or go towards something, right? And that is our brain, our head, and our heart. I don't want to use that word because it kind of sounds a little cheesy, but for the sake of the conversation. My brain, my head is designed to keep me where I am based upon where I've been. So most of us are taking our past and we're throwing it on our future. Was that an amen? Or is that just a chair squeak? I'm super cool with amens. Whoever wants to amen me in the room, I will take it. Okay, so it's designed on keeping me from where I am based on where I've been, which means I'm actually taking my past and I'm throwing it on my future, expecting different results. Or you just do more of the same thing, thinking that it will get you better results, and then wondering still why we're not super fulfilled. Conviction, the idea of conviction is that I'm actually willing to go where I've never gone, do what I've never done, expand in ways that I've never expanded, trust in ways that I've never trusted, and push the limits of things that I've never pushed, which means it's probably going to wig me out. Because what if this, and what if that, and what if I get rejected, and what if it doesn't work, and what if I lose the money, and what if, and what if, and what if. All of those what ifs are based upon the past. And yet I use it as a grid moving forward, wondering why I haven't found my burn. And this is just the first question of what's your goal? What's my goal? Right, so we have a goal. So everyone, I want you to write down what is your goal. And let's even do it this way, because I want to try to find your fire, your give a damn around even the question. If you could only pick one goal, mentally, emotionally, financially, relationally, we can even broaden this just a little bit. If you had one goal this year that you couldn't live without, that if we were here in a year, we were fist bumping because you're like, I did that, you'd be so proud. Write that down. And then who's a couple of brave people that would share this with me? I'm going to call on y'all. You're going to hate every minute of it. Give me one goal. Okay, Chrissy, I know. Tell me your goal.
I didn't write it down.
Oh, she didn't.
What is your goal?
Right, your one goal.
I didn't write it down.
Do you have one?
I don't really know.
Okay, if you had to guess one, and I won't hold you to it, and you're allowed to change your mind.
Sure.
Give it to me.
I'd like to close 5 deals.
Great. Everyone give her a round of applause. I know that's so simple, but there we go. Close 5 deals. Brilliant. Who else? Yes, I was going to call on you, so it's really good.
Buy 2 investment properties before the end of the year.
Great. What's your name?
Ryan.
Buy 2 investment properties. Great. I saw one more hand. Yes.
Made 200 this year.
Make 200. Good job. What's your name?
Garrett.
Garrett? Love it. 200. Okay, great. Everyone else have it written down? Okay, so let's go back to the statistics. Of the 56% of people who don't set a New Year's resolution, this is basically like this side of the room. So here we got 44% of the population are going to set a New Year's resolution, like that. Close 5 deals, buy 2 investment deals, $200,000, lose 30 pounds. So all the things that we do, right? We all have these New Year's. Of this 44%, today, tomorrow, February 15th, 8% will keep going. This table, y'all made it. Good job. Keep going. I actually don't know, statistically speaking, how many of these people actually make it to the goal. But what the statistic does say is that 8% of the 44% are still running towards their goal on February 15th. Then we wonder, as people, while we're anxious, burnt out, depressed, disconnected, and detached. You're like, is this supposed to be uplifting? It is. We get there. We have to look at the reality, though, right? So what we're going to actually speak to today is, what is it potentially that this 8% have that the rest of us don't? Drive. Discipline. Routine. Vision. Conviction. Yes. Do we have a special something? Round of applause. Okay. Conviction. They have conviction, right? Let's actually unpack this with one example. Amazon. What does Amazon do? Thank you. Did you say that again? What is your name? Chris, you're my favorite person.
He's my favorite person.
He's your favorite. Are you married? Or you just have to? Okay. You should. That's fine. Okay. So, Amazon, their goal, sell everything to everyone. Check. Like, we see that reality. To the point that even in COVID, do you guys remember like a couple weeks in and you needed toilet paper and you get on Amazon and you're like, 3 months? What we expect when we order on Amazon? Now, yesterday, 5 minutes ago, when I'm going to the bathroom. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that is our whole approach with Amazon now. Here's what's interesting about Amazon. 30 years ago, when Jeff Bezos started that company, he had that vision then. Can you imagine sitting in that room with these advisors who had no idea what he saw, what that sounded like, when he goes, here's what I'd like to do. On the World Wide Web, this is what I think he would say, the World Wide Web, I want to create something that we actually sell everything, all the things. They're like, what does that mean? You know, like everything, A to Z, like all of it. He's like, I don't know how else to say that. What is a synonym for all the things, everything, all, more. You should see what I'm saying. People are like, we still don't follow you, Jeff. No, I envision a world where we're actually selling everything to everyone. It had never been done. Here's what conviction looks like. Jeff Bezos didn't need anybody to tell him something he already knew to be true. The rest of the world would believe it when they saw it. He believed it before he did. It's actually the idea that I don't care what you look at. That doesn't matter to me. I care what you see. This is what conviction is. It means that I'm actually so connected to the thing that it has me. I don't have a nice goal It has me. Here's the difference. So ultimately, what they started doing 30 years ago was make decisions based upon where they were going, not where they were. Do you get where I'm going this year in real estate? We're going to have to learn how to make decisions based upon where we're going, not where we are. Because if we make decisions based upon where we are, all these agents will get in when everything booms, and how many will get out when everything busts? Far too many. And I love this community. And I see too many people get into real estate because it's easy or simple or it looks good or it sounds good. Guess what? Here is not the point of a goal. It is not to make you feel good. It's designed to make you be good. I will say that again. Your dreams, your goals, your visions for what's possible in your life are not designed to make you feel good. Those are cheap. It's actually designed to make you be good. It's designed to reveal